Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Guess what time it is? It's time to talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. I was not expecting this to come out so quickly, but then again the year is just flying by, and I feel like games like this really fit in well with this time of year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. The premise is actually fairly simple. It's just SpongeBob and Patrick enjoying their day, and then something terrible happens to Patrick. And SpongeBob has to go after him because a mysterious voice calls him into the portal. And we're not really sure who the voice is. You have to do one run, kind of like Dark Souls, and then die to get to this point, which is kind of like your subspace emissary hub world. But this is where you get to meet the person that saved you, which is Clockwork. So, just a little bit of a spoiler, if you're not into the Danny Phantom television show, you're really not going to know a lot of the characters that get mentioned because we're talking about Clockwork and Vlad Plasmius, who is the main bad guy. So basically, Vlad Plasmius has mind-controlled all of the Nickelodeon All-Stars, and he's just trying to take over the universe. So he's enlisted SpongeBob and Patrick, as well as any other characters that you can undo from his mind control to help stop Vlad. It's actually a really cool premise, and I like the way that they decided to tackle it because you go into this portal and it randomizes your path. You don't do the same thing over and over and over. You'll end up facing different enemies. You'll end up having little opportunities to pick up power-ups and stuff like that. Or like, let's just say you're playing as XJ9 and you come up against another XJ9. You get a different skin for defeating that character, which is neat. It's a nice little incentive to keep going because otherwise it would feel slightly repetitive without any sort of like payoff for it. But that's basically the majority of the game, is you're just unlocking characters in the story mode. Like I'm trying to unlock Gerald here. He's actually one of my favorite characters because he's got all these sports-based moves. He is absolutely awesome. His moveset is really cool. I really do like that they decided to include like a bunch of side characters and some more previous Nickelodeon stars. Like I was not expecting XJ9 or Rocco or anything like that. It's a really nice nod, and it's kind of cool to see them pull as much stuff from the Nickelodeon franchises as they can, because they actually seem to do a pretty good job. Everything seems incredibly respectful for each show and each character and stuff, and I have to give them props where credit's due. Absolutely. They made a pretty decent game that feels like it's actually true to the source material without it being, you know, too much of a Smash Bros. Clone. Like I said, this is actually fully voice acted. I hate whoever decided to voice act Gur. This guy is just awful. That is just not even Gur. Not even close. Everyone has really good lines. They're well voice acted. And they blend into the campaign well enough that if you're playing as a different character and you decide to actually do something that's integral to the campaign, you don't notice that disassociation of dialogue, and it doesn't come across as too generic. Now, like I mentioned, this kind of is a Smash Bros. Clone, so there's going to be things that are very similar, but what I feel like is the laziest one of all of them is this one, this platforming thing. This comes up a couple times. Each run you do, you might have one or two opportunities to do this, but it feels like the same run every single time, and the whole level layout itself feels really lazy. Like, it's so weird to go from, you know, a really like decent brawler to this, which feels like a very basic platformer, even something that I wouldn't pay any more than $5 for personally, just based on appearances, the weird kind of like pseudo static image in the background, just kind of the genericness of each map. They try and do their best to give each one a theme, but in the end it still really comes across as just kind of like half baked and I don't want to say uncaring, but it doesn't have the same love as the rest of the game does, even compared to like Pop the Balloons or Whack-A-Robot, which is our different game mode that you'll also come across. This is, I'll be honest, I found myself pretty addicted to this game right away. That loop of like always having a different path to take and always resetting after the death, it just kind of draws you in, which is what I loved about the original N64 Smash Bros. It's really weird. This feels like a blend between the two. Like, I kind of know what's going on here. I feel at home with the controls, but it doesn't have that polish that Nintendo's known for bringing to the table with brawlers. But I will say they did a really good job, and I think with just a couple of updates, they could really balance this out to be a fantastic game. Like really. I'm genuinely impressed with what they have been able to do, given the short development time on this. Now, another thing that's going to come up too is I believe there are DLC characters for this, so there is a season pass and stuff like that. So you'll probably see more characters join in down the line. Now, online mode, there is online, which definitely helps keep the game feeling fresh and new. You can kind of just go into different lobbies and stuff like that, or you can start your own. Or just spectate matches if you wanted to. I was kind of impatient. I just started my own lobby with this poor guy that ends up playing against me. And I feel really bad too, because he put up a really, like, I thought I was going to be outmatched. And this guy just kind of ended up falling off the map like 3 times in total. So the online's actually pretty good. I didn't notice any latency issues or anything like that. It felt tight. It didn't really feel like I was fighting any sort of lag, or I was fighting my own internet connection or his internet connection, because this is crossplay. So I don't know what console this person was on, but it does have crossplay enabled. So it's always nice to keep the lobbies as large as possible for the community to keep playing the game. So I really do appreciate that. This was actually a really fun match. I know I made it sound like there was nothing going on here, but I definitely got this guy once or twice on a few different moves. I got him. And bye-bye. Oh, so beyond that, there is like a training mode too with Master Splinter, which is basically just like a dojo for most fighting games. You're basically just going to be fighting a clone version of yourself or whatever you set up, and then kind of like with any other game, you can adjust the CPU difficulty, what they choose to do, whether they decide to walk, stand, they can attack, they can only defend, stuff like that. It is neat because it gives you a couple different opportunities to just mess around. Although, in this footage, as you can see, it's literally just me and Patrick slamming each other off the stage, which is, oh god, so Donkey Kong-esque. But I'll be honest, I really love the little homages they pay to each franchise, like having the Cabbage Salesman as one of the power-up shops was really cool. I know Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy shows up as well. Jimmy Neutron's dad, Hugh, I love his character. He's such a good character. And again, these are fully voice acted, so they don't sound out of place. And I feel like they got most of the regular voice actors needed for these to sound good. Now, little caveat here. This is made by Game Mill, and I've had a little tendency to be mean to Game Mill, but I only experienced one graphical error, and it was this one. So I'd say that's actually, well, given everything else, pretty good. I think this game's going to sell incredibly well, especially with the holiday season right around the corner. This game seems incredibly approachable for just about anyone. I don't know who couldn't enjoy this because there's like 6 different difficulty levels. It's fairly straightforward to understand. If you're a huge fan of the old Nickelodeon shows, Angry Beavers, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, you're gonna just love this game for having all those little nods to the franchise. It's weird. I feel a huge connection to this game just based on the intellectual IP that they have, because that's kind of the point. I feel like they did a good job of making every character feel like themselves. They have their cool little walk cycles. there's little nods and references and their taunts and stuff, and I gotta give it to them. They did such a good job with this one. I still feel like it's missing, you know, the polish, as I mentioned before, but it's an absolutely enjoyable experience. I tried to unlock as many characters as I could right away. That's how into this game I was. So I think anyone else, especially like people that are more casual Smash Bros fans, might really enjoy this. And even if you are one of those really sweaty Smash Bros players that everything has to be, you know, air dodge, dodge roll, you know, sliding, I don't know any of the mechanical terms of this, you'll still like it. There's 6 different difficulties. I'm sure the ones at the high end will provide some sort of challenge. Really the only thing that I can really take as a drawback to this is some of the game modes feel a little rushed. Like I said, the platformer one and Whack-A-Bot do feel just a tiny bit rushed, but I feel like some tweaking to just the overall gameplay structure could remedy that. I love the art style that they went for with this. Everybody looks nice and uniform, and even if it was a totally different animation style, they did their best to keep it looking the same and not so polarizing across the board when you get to characters like El Tigre, who are not drawn in the same way as Hey Arnold or 3D like Jimmy Neutron or anything like that. I loved this. I honestly recommend going and checking this out if you're, I mean, I'll be honest, I picked this up mainly just for Garfield. I enjoyed the fact that Garfield was one of the characters. He is definitely one of my favorites to play as. He's got a great moveset. But I wholeheartedly recommend this game to anybody that just enjoys Smash Bros. It feels just right in between N64 and Melee. It's just missing that one extra step, and I'm sure that once we do these updates and stuff, we will get to that point. And maybe in a couple months we'll be talking about this having more of a competitive scene, because right now I don't really see it having 100% of a competitive scene. Some of the characters are a little unbalanced and unfair. Some of the hitboxes could use adjusting. But otherwise, if they kept this up and they remain faithful to the structure that they have with more updates and stuff like that, I could really see this being something that we talk about with a lot more regard compared to the first one. Now, I think the first one just kind of felt like an IP cash grab, where this one really feels like they went, okay, we have this IP, how are we going to respect it, take care of it, and still make a really good kind of brawler platformer title. And I really think they did a wonderful job with that. If you are interested in this game, it's available on most consoles, and with Black Friday coming around the corner here in just like a couple weeks, it might be worth it for you to go pick it up. But those are my closing thoughts. I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to play any local multiplayer or anything like that because I don't have friends. So these were just my initial impressions with the game. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe, as I will be doing more reviews in the future. And feel free to hit that notification bell. That's pretty much the only way you're going to know if any of my videos come out going forward. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. You have a great one.